So let's understand about JWT. What is exactly JWT and why new and modern applications are using JWT? So let's go back in time and understand how web applications used to perform authentication. So let's say I am the user, Rohit, and I want to log in onto my banking website. Let's call it as bank.com. Now, if I want to log in into my internet banking portal on bank.com, I have to supply my correct username and password, which are my credentials. Now, when I supply my correct credentials from the client to the server will validate if the credentials are correct and then create a session for me. Now, this session was maybe a PHP session or a session token. Now, the conventional way of creating sessions had multiple issues. For example, the developer has to take extra precautions in handling how the sessions have been created. For example, if the session expires correctly in a given time frame, for checking session management issues. Also, if the session can be reused multiple times or no, etc. To eliminate these types of issues in sessions and session management, modern applications have started using JWT tokens to create and maintain the session between a client and the server. So JWT stands for JSON Web Token. These are the tokens that are used instead of the conventional session cookies that were created. JWT is primarily used for authentication. As per the RFC, which is read for comments for JWT, it is used for authentication. But when JWT token is being given by the server, it can also be used for authorization purposes as well by adding claims in the JWT token. So what is the difference between authentication and authorization? We should understand that first, as this is one of the topics which is also asked in multiple interview questions as well. So let us quickly understand what is authentication and what is authorization. So I'm going to take a quick example. Authentication and authorization. Authentication means the server checks if the supplied username and password is correct. This process is known as authentication, in which the credentials are being authenticated and I get access to the web application or my banking portal. Whereas authorization means permissions. If I have specific permissions to access a resource, is being validated by the authorization. Let me give you a very, very simple example in real life. Let's say, as I work for a bank, I have my ID card with me. Let's say the ID card is NFC enabled. When I go to my office at the bank, at the entrance, I use my ID card, which has the information, which is my name, my employee ID, and the department that I work into. Let's assume I work in the security department. With the help of the ID card, I scan it and I'm able to grant access. That means my ID card had worked as authentication and I'm able to get access to the bank office or the premises. Once I enter into the office, let's say there is a locker room, which is only allowed to be accessed by the bankers or the employees who are bankers for the bank. As I do not have permissions or privileges to access the locker room, I would not be allowed to go inside. And this is where privilege or permission comes into. I am a normal user, whereas I need a higher privilege to access the bank room or the locker room. Okay, so my privilege is currently horizontal, whereas if I want to access the locker, I need a vertical privilege, that is a higher privilege of a banker. These two are known as authentication and authorization, and we should keep that in mind. So how do we recognize if the application is using a JWT token? First thing that we have to keep in mind is usually JWT token starts with EY. Whenever you see a token, when you log it into an application, if the token starts with EY, you can get an idea that this is going to be a JWT token. A JWT token is a base 64 encoded token, which consists of 3 parts, which is separated by dots. For example, a JWT token might look something like this, which is 1.2.3. There are 3 parts of a JWT token, which are separated by dots. Now, what are these 3 parts? Let's understand that as well. The first part is known as the header. The second part is known as the payload. And the third part is known as the signature. So a correct JWT token would have 3 parts, which is divided into header, payload, and signature. So let us see this as well. So I'm going to go on jwt.io and token.dev. Here, we are going to see a sample JWT token. You can see over here, this is a JWT string, which is a sample JWT token that we are going to see. You can see over here, this is the first part, and then you can see a dot. This is the second part, and then you can see this is the second part till here, and you can see a dot over here. And this is the third part till here. We can also notice that our JWT token starts with EY. Perfect. This is what we have learned so far. We also understood our JWT token or the JWT string has a header, has a payload, and a signing key, which is the signature. Look very carefully when I hover my mouse on the header. You can see the header part gets highlighted. When I hover my mouse on payload, the payload part gets highlighted. When I hover my mouse on the signature, you can see the signature part in the token gets highlighted. Now, let us understand each part, the first, second, and third one. So the first part, which is the header, always consists these 2 very important things, which are very simple. The first is the type, which indicates the token type. So this is a JWT token. Similarly, whenever we write any other program for any other programming language or a scripting language, we signify what interpreter should be used or what is this. For example, if I'm writing an HTML, I would signify doc type HTML. Similarly, for this token, the type has been signified as a JWT. You can see the next one, which is the algorithm. ALG stands for the algorithm. And you can see the algorithm that is being used is HS256, which stands for HMAC SHA-256. So this is the algorithm which is currently being used. There are different types of algorithms that are supported by JWT. You can see a list of algorithms over here. HS256, and then RS256, ES256, and none. Remember, all of these algorithms are open source algorithms. That means you can dig in and understand and read how this algorithm works. The only difference between these algorithms is basically the signing key or the secret key that is being used. Higher the algorithm's secret key, longer would be the JWT token that would be created. That's it.